Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Wednesday, October 23rd. So, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, what I thought we'd talk about is stripping still a viable option in today's economy. And you're probably looking at me like, what do you mean stripping? Pole dancing? Or no. It's when you have older machines come in that you own and you're looking to capitalize as much as you can. So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. If you didn't already know it, my name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekday. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, and of course, all of our videos are available on podcast as well. So, what are we talking about today? I'm talking about, most of us, we run a repair shop, right? That's kind of your bread and butter, right? And so the idea is you got to get machines in, you got to get parts, you got to get them fixed and get them back out. Thus, you get paid, and hopefully, you do it in a fairly quickly manner, so you're moving through stuff and getting paid quicker, right? More money on the books to pay for dinner that night. But what a lot of guys overlook is the diamond in the rough, I call it. And that is, years ago when we first started, we were basically doing this already, all right? And that is, if we bought a machine, we looked at it and said, okay, is the hydrostatic transmission any good in it? Is the standard transmission any good in it? And we would bring them to the shop, and we would drop the trannies, and we put them on shelves, tag them and bag them, and there for a while we were pulling off starters, ring gears, what have you. And then we just said, screw it. We'll just pull the whole engine and put it on the shelf and tag it. What is the matter with the engine? Does it run? Does it not run? And so forth. So, because what we ended up doing was we started taking a lot of time stripping engines down and taking parts off them, and then never selling the part. So you had your time invested in dismantling. Now, depends on what you're looking at. See, this day and age, you can buy, before it cost you $80, $90 for a starter for, let's say, a Briggs engine, new OEM, and then the aftermarkets were around $45, $50. And if you could pull a starter off a junk engine and it still was in good shape and you got $20 out of it, that's pretty much profit, right? Unless you got a lot of money tied up in that unit. And that's what a lot of these, scrapyards do. Is I have a friend that has been doing it. His father started the business. But he's got cars on that lot that are way back in the woods that date back into the 40s and 50s that they haven't seen any light, since they were put back there. But they put them all jacked up so they're off the ground. And he's got a little gold mine there. See, cars, the parts have actually gone up, right? So, like we have another place that you can get used parts for vehicles, but they will only go back 10 years. So anything older than 10 years, they just cash it out as scrap. That's their cutoff. Anything 10 years or newer, they'll hold on to and see if they can't peddle it. And they do very well at it. Everything from used windshields to used engines, low mileage involved in crashes. They go around to all these insurance auctions, and they're tied up with insurance companies where they buy the vehicle, and then they bring it in, and then they scrap out what they want. And they've been doing it long enough. So if it's a diesel engine somebody's looking for, of course, it's going to bring a premium of $3,000 to $5,000, right? Depending upon how old it is and how many miles are on it. You can't say the same thing for the small engine market. See, the key with us is I don't like building Frankenstein machines to resell. If a customer comes in and wants us to replace an engine with another engine that he's got, but it's not what was supposed to be on it in the first place, and he's going to keep it, fine, I don't have any problem. But as far as buying a riding lawnmower that needs an engine, let's say it's Cub Cadet and it's got a 22 horse, Briggs Vanguard in it, I want to find a 22 horse Briggs Vanguard to put back in it. And why is that? Well, a lot of times it's confusion of saying that it takes certain parts. With the good thing in the last few years, in a way, is a lot of your engines are separate from your chassis. So if you go online to try to find parts, if you type in the tractor model number, let's say it's a 13KW, blah, 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 that's going to bring up everything from the deck, the drive, the chassis, the dash. But what it won't bring up is that engine, because that may have run like 3 or 4 different engines in that unit. Might have been a Kohler, might have been a Briggs. It was whatever one that was offering the best deal to Cub Cadet at the time. And to find Briggs parts, if it's a Briggs engine, 22 horse Vanguard, if you look right on the valve cover, it's stamped right into it, the silver piece on the front. It will tell you the model and type of that Briggs engine. You put that into Google search, and it's going to bring you up a breakdown of that motor itself. So you're buying the motor parts separate from the chassis parts. Now, there's money in transmission, especially hydrostatics. If you get into the bigger ones that have the Parker drive wheels and the Hydrogear hydraulic pumps, those are good money, because they're really super money to buy new, right? And we were selling like the Hydrogear pumps, I would say $800-900 a year. And the Parker drive wheels, that much, if not more. And it was a lot of what we had were commercial guys, so they were burning them out, but they had a lot of hours on them. Those guys are not going to want to buy used, not unless they're local to you because of the shipping costs. But if you get some of these guys that are local, that are just starting up, if they have a Hydrogear motor go bad and you got a good used one sitting there, I think a new one still runs right around $400. But if you've got one for $150-200, it's definitely a sellable item, right? The things you want to stay away from are the stuff that is chintzy, like your steering parts. The cheapy ones have got the centers that John Deere was well known for taking them out. It's got the bearing on it and the gear. A lot of times those are so wear by the time it comes in to be scrapped, it's not worth taking out. If it's still got the paint all the way around on it, yeah, absolutely. Because this is where, if you have real estate, you don't need to worry as much. You can just stack them up, right? Just line them up out back and get them out of sight. But if you don't have the real estate, you need to maximize your space in the shop. And that means, where are you going to get the most money? You're going to get your most money out of the engine, transmission. If it's a zero turn, drive motors, the bigger ones, commercial ones. And that's about it. Plastic on John Deere's that come in, if the motor's bad and the plastic is good, the hood. I don't know how many ones that come through that they're all busted to hell. So We stack all of ours, the hoods too. But I've got real estate, and maybe you don't, so it might not be worthwhile. So how do you price all this stuff? Is it sellable on eBay? It was, and then the Chinese decimated that with new parts coming in at or above what used OEMs were. And a lot of people would just go with the brand new one from the Chinese versus going with the replacement OEM used that a lot of these guys were peddling. I do peddle some on eBay, but I'll be honest with you, it's the John Deeres with the Kawasaki engines, especially the liquid cools. I can't keep them on the shelf very long. Most of the parts, the last one that I had here had a rod go through the side of the block. I knew everything else. It was running afterwards, so I knew exactly what the issue was. So we stripped it down, and you'd be surprised at how fast those parts sell. And you got to keep in mind, if you're going to do something like that on eBay, that there's more than just selling price and postage. All right. You're going to pay eBay a percentage of whatever that sells for. And then you're also going to pay eBay for a listing fee to have it, unless you have a store. And then you're paying a monthly or a yearly plan. And by the time you figure in the postage, because everybody wants free shipping, right? So you have to buffer that into the price. If you know it's going to cost around $10-12 to ship it, and it's a $30 part, $42.95 free shipping. And the one thing you want to be very careful of is returns. People will send back their old junk part and keep your part. So you want a way of identifying how with yours. Don't write with a white stick LH, because I can write LH and send it back on my old part, right? There's other ways that you can, like punches and with a certain number of dots on it and this and that. So for you guys that are out there doing this, chime in anywhere. What am I not talking about? What am I forgetting? So the second part of it is you're running a repair shop, right? So you can offer your customers an option, and that is, I have some good used parts, and this is what it's going to cost if I go with new versus used, but you're going to have to give a guarantee, all right? If you sell a customer on a used part and it fails a week out, you're going to eat it, all right? That's just the way the cookie crumbles. We sell a lot of electric PTO clutches. And a lot of times, they're electromagnetic clutch. So they're either going to work or they're not going to work. And on the average, most PTO clutches are anywhere from $200 and up. So at the bare minimum, if you have a machine that you give $75 or $50 for, and it's got that PTO clutch, you just made your money back by just putting it on there. And if it doesn't work, you're just going to have your time taking it back off and getting the guy a new one and charging him for a new one, right? Unless you have another used one. But you'd be surprised at how much money you can save the customer and how much the customer is willing to go with if you had that option of good quality used parts. I know, with running a repair shop, you're putting your rubber stamp on. There's certain things that I do not agree with as far as putting on used, and that is any part that is iffy. And when I say iffy, it's like a starter that, it works 9 times out of the 10, but then on the 10th you have to kind of tunk it a little bit. No, I'm not putting that on a customer's machine. Use common sense here. And if you're going to put it on the customer's machines, you need to warranty it. And what do I mean by warranty it? I mean, you need to stand behind it. You're making money at it, right? So depending on the part, you can give up to a 30-day guarantee on just strictly that part. Now, things to kind of watch out for are the electrical parts, and that is coils, stators. even PTO clutches are electromagnetic, because those things have a higher chance of, you don't know how long a set of coils have been on an engine, let's say. If it's 20 years, I'm pretty leery about taking those coils off and putting them on a customer machine. But now, if it's a fairly newer machine that's got a rod through the side of it, and you got a good set of coils, yeah, I'm going to offer it to the customer, half of what a new is, do the install, put the money in your pocket. If you do it right, most of the time you're going to come out on the winning side. That's the idea anyways, is that you're going to end up having that be a cash cow instead of where it's costing you money. And that comes with experience, all right? Be very careful about what used parts you put on a customer's machine. Is it something you put on your own or your mother's machine? Not your own, because I've seen how mechanics with their vehicles have the worst looking, crappiest looking vehicle, but they know they can fix it, right? Same goes for lawnmowers, toggling. We don't toggle. You put it back the way it belongs, and that's just the way it is. But if you give a 30-day guarantee on just that part, nothing else, just that part, usually you come out on the winning side of it. Usually. So you guys out there, what are you doing? And I understand it has a lot to do with real estate, how much area you have. Comes with zoning. Are you allowed to have used mowers sitting? Do you have to have a high fence like a scrapyard if you have used mowers lined up? We take them out back of the shop where they can't be seen. And at one point we had 2.5 acres full until the last clean out. And that's what I do. We strip for so long, and then I get tired of looking at them. And then I get a scrapper that comes in with an excavator, and he goes to town loading his own dumpsters, and off he goes. I don't have to touch it. He just gives me the cash. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I pulled all the parts off from those units that I want to keep. A lot of times we keep 5 or 6 good used tires front and back for your common machines, all right? And the rest of them we leave right on the chassis. And why do we leave them right on the chassis? Because a lot of times, for like a front tire for a cup cadet riding lawnmower, we get $15-20 for it. Now, if the customer wants to put a tube in a tire that he's got, it's going to cost him $15 for the tube plus a half hour's labor. So he could get another whole tire and rim from me for that price. And so we sell a lot of tires and rims. We don't break them down. If you're going to buy it, you're going to buy the whole deal. Rim and tire together. You own it. If it's weather checked, don't even bother, because it's going to come back. You know it's going to come back, because it's not going to hold air very long unless you tube it. And then if you have it come back and you tube it, now you're breaking even, right, on your 30-day guarantee on the parts you install used. So let me know in the comments what you guys are doing. Like I say, we used to strip down the engines. Now we just take the engines and put them on a shelf, tag them what they are and what they came out of. PTO clutches, same thing, but they've got a part number right on them. Your hydrostatic transmissions and your standard, your Peerless and your Spicer, those are got value to them as long as they aren't in really rough shape. Your hydro-gear pumps, if they haven't got a lot of hours and you don't find any filings in them, they're usually pretty good. Parker drive wheels are another good one. It all depends about how many hours are on these pumps and drive motors. Because what we recommend to our commercial guys, if one side, because usually theirs have got 2 hydro-gear pumps and 2 Parker drive wheels, is if you're going to replace one, you must replace both of them and do it right. And if you have the unit where it has the one reservoir and the one hydraulic pump for the 2 drive wheels, if one goes bad, it's going to cross-contaminate to the other anyway, so you might as well put the new pump, 2 new drive wheels, and fluid in that after you flush it numerous times to get all the filings out of it. So on that note, you guys have a great Wednesday. We'll catch you here bright and early Thursday morning tomorrow. Let me know in the comments, are you guys doing anything with used parts, or are you just strictly doing the new? All right, have a great day.